Hello for almost the last time, and welcome again to Learn Python 3 the Hard Way, Exercise 51. This is a video for Microsoft Windows, so if you're using Mac OS 10 or Linux, please run the OS 10. I believe it's labeled Mac OS. That's the video you want. For Windows people, here we go. Now, I covered some of the bugs you run into with Flask and things like that, so we're going to continue on with this. Again, if there were errors when you ran this, please contact me at help@learncodethehardway.com. When the book was published, it wasn't quite accurate. I believe this exercise is a little bit better. 50 was definitely not good. I'm not sure where my edits went. I'm just imagining that I fixed things. But anyways, so the video should be accurate. Now, I have a description in the book about how the web works, and read it. It's a brief description. And then you're also going to be making a web application that can handle forms. And forms are when you enter in like your name and your password to log in or something like that on the web. So that's what we're going to work on today, or in this exercise. Now, I'm doing this again where I have the instructions off screen. They're off to my right, so don't worry about it. And I'm going to stay in this Gothon web directory, and I had my old code. We're not going to be doing that much anymore. And to save time, I'm not going to type all the code in, but I am going to cover how it works. So let me just copy ex51 Gothon web app to here, and let me just make sure it's the right file. No, is that what I want? Actually, I think the first file I want a little bit different, so let me just grab and here, let me find the file real quick. Okay, it took me a little bit to find the file that I'm actually going to work with in this first part, and now I've saved it to my app.py. So remember, it's going to be Gothon web app.py, all right? And from here, that's what I want. I want this app.py here. So this is the first version of our app.py. All right, now I just copied it over so we can talk about this for a second. And the other thing that we have to have, I believe... yes, I believe that's everything. Do we need a new index.html? Nope, the greeting will be the same. So we'll be using the same index.html from the previous one, which is going to be Gothon web templates index.html. So we're just going to reuse this index.html. It's not fancy, but it does still have the greeting. Okay. Now, what we have is a much more, not much more, but it's more complicated than the previous one. Now, again, on Windows, remember that you want to do threaded equals true to prevent that one bug. And if it can't find everything, then you say template folder equals templates. Okay, but mine seems to be working fine, so I'm going to keep that. Now, here's what we got. We make a request to the web application, and what we want to be able to do is pass what's called a parameter off the URL. Okay, so it's like a get parameter. And it's really complicated to explain the difference, but basically, when you do most of your input to a browser, most of your forms, it's with a different style, but this is easy to get up and running because we don't need any HTML to make it work. So, as I said before, you start with an incremental small version and improve it. Now, what we're going to be doing is, we're going to use this line here, line 9, to access the request. That's what comes in from the browser. It's called a request. And then look at the arguments, and then get the name, and if the name doesn't exist, then nobody. That's what we're getting. Now, if we get name, good. Now, we should always get it because we're doing a default, but I like to be thorough, so we're going to do this. The greeting is going to be with name or without name. And then, there we go, our render template from before. Okay, so let's just see how this works. Now, my environment should still have the, remember we did env flask debug equals 1. right? Okay, great. So let me do this, app.py. Restarting with that, our debug is going. We got a little pin there in case we want to run more. And then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go HTTP 127.0.0.5000. Oh, let me make sure I'm running on 5000. Aha. Now, here's the first thing. I went straight to here, to slash. But we did something called a route. And the route is actually /hello. What happens is we're using this thing called the decorator. And a decorator is sort of like you get to tack on a modifier to a function. So we're basically changing up this function so that it knows how to handle routing within Flask. Okay, so that comes from Flask, the app right here. That's just part of the app. And what we're saying is take this index function, and whenever someone goes to /hello, run the index function. All right, that's a pretty convenient way to do it. So let's give this a try with the correct URL. Okay, we're going to go to hello. And there we go. So it's going to say nobody. So I'm going to demonstrate the next thing. What you have to do to get it to show up with whatever name you want, right, is you go like this. You add question mark, and then you say name equals Z. So that's how you do the URL style of parameters, all right? So now you've got URL parameter there. And what that's doing is now name exists as an argument to the thing, and it's assigning Z to this, and then Z comes down to here. Now, each time we run through, it's going to be nobody, so we're never going to see this one. This is mostly just there for safety, just in case. But if you want, you can do this. You can get rid of that to see that work. Come over here. Okay, watch this work. All right, and then we're going to get rid of this, the parameter. Okay, there we go, and now we saw that other style. Okay. So let's undo this. All right, we got that working. So if you're on on Windows, then make sure you have the threaded, make sure you have the templates if you can't find the templates. All right, now the next thing is we want to make the form. So let me grab the form. I'm going to quit this. CP ex51, both on web. Templates, and I believe it's form, hello form, templates. There we go, templates. Okay, and then we're going to change up this code. Let me load up Gothon web templates hello form.html. All right. So if you don't know HTML, please go learn it. But basically what you got to do is you have to have a form and you have to have your inputs. So that way, and then an input that does a submit. So that way it can be packaged up and sent to the browser. Once you do that, we can display something different on the index. So instead of having these URL parameters, we'll be getting them from a post. So let me load up that version of the stuff. So you're going to change it to evolve it to use the form. And do I want to do that for you? No, you should do this. So I'm just going to copy it over. So Gothon web, and this is the app to here. And let me close it and close that and load it again. All right, now this is the new style. The previous way I was doing it was using the request method was just by default get. So now what we're doing is this line here. So first off, I want to come up here and talk about what we're asking for. So when you have an HTML form, so if I come over here, we can say the method here is post. So this comes from way back when the web first started. You had two ways to access a document or access a website. You could access it with get, which was just a very simple, hey, give me this thing. And then those question mark parameters that I did on the URL, back here, up here, when I did the question mark name, when I did that, those question mark parameters were kind of a modifier. You were saying, hey, I want you to give me this thing, but here's some additional data to tell you how to give me it. A post, however, was intended to be data that you sent to the browser and that maybe got stored or processed. It was bigger. It was more structured. It was more exact. Okay. So that's how these things are going to get packed up for you. But you have to tell Flask, hey, I want to receive GET requests and I want to receive POST requests. And there's a whole bunch of other, actually they call them verbs, but for the most part, they're just this requests. Now, to specify this, you have get hello world, and then the request method matches whatever your method was in the form. So if I say in my form, let me see, if I say post here, then I have to say in the app post here. Okay. And then once I do, I have a handy little thing called form, and it's just a dictionary. And greet. And then I construct that and I specify, I make my own greeting and I pass it back to the HTML. Now, here's the trick. I want to make it so that if I first go to hello, then I check. If they submit with a method post, then I process the form and I render index. But if I don't, then I give them the hello form. Right? So if they come in with the form submitted, I give them this with all the modifiers and everything from the form. And if not, I give them the form. All right, so let's see if it works. All right, so what I can do then is I can say, greeting is howdy, partner. Like that, and I'm saying my name is Z.A. Shaw. And then submit the query. There we go. I just wanted to say, howdy, partner, Z.A. Shaw. And there you go. Very straightforward, nothing super duper complex to this. For the most part, from that, you can make almost any website you want. That's kind of the meat of doing HTML. However, or doing web, whatever. However, there is a thing that's kind of annoying about this. Do you see all of this stuff up here? And all of this down here? And if we go to this one, same thing, right? Okay. As a programmer, I look for things that are duplicated. So when you learn to code, you think in terms of systems. You think in terms of, okay, you don't go to each HTML page and figure out how to craft each button. You find a way, the pattern, the system of buttons, and you make the button once, and then you use that button everywhere. So in a lot of ways, it's the inverse of art. In art, I'm going to go and I'm going to say, oh, I'm going to make a painting or a page layout or something like that. I'm going to work on that one piece of art. And I'm not going to sit down and go, I seem to do the exact same bottle 19 times, so I'm going to do this bottle over and over again. And I'm just going to make one bottle. I'm going to walk around and stamp it. Now, it's interesting because actually in Renaissance art and especially Dutch art, there's actually artists who did that, where they would do one study of an orange, and then that orange would show up, or the bottle or whatever would show up over and over and over again in their art. So in the same way, you're doing this as a programmer. You don't think, here's one web page. Okay, now to craft the next web page, and then the next web page, and then the buttons on every web page over and over and over again. As a programmer, you go, okay, I have 2 web pages. What is common between them? What is the system of this web page? Well, the system we've got is this stuff, and the stuff below can be packaged up into one thing in one location, and I never have to worry about it again. So how do you do that? You make a layout. So that's my next move from exercise 51. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to copy templates, and I'm actually going to copy them all. Let me just copy all the templates to there. Let's see what we got. So here I have my index, and index laid out is a file I use internally, and layout. So let me move templates index.html index laid out to templates index HTML. No, that's right. Can't do that. And I'm going to do rm templates hello form, and I'm going to do templates hello form laid out to templates hello form. Now you are going to make these files and copy them over. I'm trying to speed this up so that we can get through the video quicker. I don't want this to be like a 9-hour video. So I have my index, okay, and oops, I just messed that up. Give me 1 second. Actually, I'm going to close this file now, and I'm going to close this file now. Close this file. Go away. Don't save. All right. Let me copy this back over. Index laid out to index. There we go. Okay. So let's go look at the templates index first. That might be the easiest way to work at this. Index.html. Okay, before we had a whole bunch of what we would call boilerplate. So it's just the same thing over and over again. We pulled that out. Now this is the meat of my web application. This little part in the center is just if there's a greeting, then do it. So then what is in the layout? So the layout is going to be here. Now notice it says block content right there. So everything that we have here and we have here is going to be the same across all the web pages. And then in the index, we say I extend the layout. So that's the first trick, is we tell the index, hey, you're like the layout. In a lot of ways, it's like object-oriented programming, where you're saying this page, index.html, inherits from the layout page. And in a way, the layout page is like a class, and it makes sort of all the basic stuff. And then you modify it, you extend it, right? It's implied. Now to tell Flask where to put stuff, or actually the template language is called Jinja, you have to do this block content, and then you put everything inside the block content, whatever you want. And you just sort of assume that the layout's right. All right. Now, if I load up the other one, like that, you see, same thing. I don't have to worry about this. I extend the layout, and then it handles all the boilerplate stuff for the HTML page and everything. So what's the significance of this? Well, you think, if you look at the layout, you're thinking, oh, well, you're saving 7 lines. Who cares? Here's the significance. You can change all of the pages from this one file. That's the significance. I can make this HTML5 compliant, add any styles, put different images, do a totally different header, anything I want from this one file. So I'll give you an example. So let's go and run the Flask app. All right, and then load it. No. Let me try it one more time. There we go. So there's my form, right? And we'll just start with the form. Now, what if I want to change this up? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the absolute worst design on the planet, the very worst design. And I swear I am actually an artist, but I'm going to do a design that is just going to make people just cry. So let's do body. Let's say color is red and background color is blue. Now, I think it should just load. Let's see. Let's try it again. There we go. And that's going to be the same color, the same styling for also the index. For any page that you make, it's going to look like this. I can go back then, and I can change up the entire design again by just going like this. Just do that, save it, pop back here, reload. Nope, can't do that. And there we go. Now it's back the way it is. So that's the significance of having a layout, is it makes it so that rather than change every page when you have to make one page change, and rather than change every page that has a button when you want to change the button, you just change the one thing and then the button gets loaded or the layout gets loaded. And that's the significance. That's the thing that makes programming useful. Instead of thinking in terms of every page being designed and being one single piece of work of art, you think of the entire system as your work of art. And when you find patterns across each page, you pull them up and you reuse them. So that way everything is consistent and normalized and easy to use and easy to modify. Okay, as far as I can tell, I believe that's the end of it. No, we'd have one more thing. We're going to write a test. We're going to show you how to do a test because I told you we've been doing this where I come over here and I reload and I do all this stuff. Well, that is just not very programmer style. So I'm going to close that one. I'm going to load this up, get this going. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to copy. There we go. Oh, I probably copied it too. There we go. Okay, so we know knows, and we're going to load the app. So that app is in here. Remember, we named our file app.py, and we have an app in there. That's actually something very common you find in Python, where you have a module, and then the thing you really need to use is named exactly the same inside the module. So you just get used to it. Now, what I'm going to do is I load the app, and what's nice about Flask is the app is just a plain old object. You kind of just work it. But I'm going to tell it right off the bat, it's testing. And then I'm going to ask the Flask app to give me a test client. This is basically kind of a fake web browser, and it's very handy. It makes Flask a very great thing for testing. And what we're doing is we're just kind of pretending to be the web browser. And you can see we're doing web.post. That's similar to doing a post form. We're doing get. We say the URL. Follow redirects is important because it'll give you some redirect status and whatnot. And then in theory this should work. Let's give it a shot. There we go. Everything is good. And what's another test it ran? Okay, cool. We got 2 tests. I don't see 2 tests. Oh, I bet, yeah. So that's when I did that first copy, I messed it up. There we go. Run that one more time. There. So now you can do the test first style of building your web app. And test first actually works pretty well on a web app. So let's say you wanted to actually do def test hello. A new one. Let's say we're going to do one. So you go like this, rv equals web.get. Now, where's the new hello you want to go? Let's go hello2. And what are you going to give it? Oh, we want to do the follow redirects equals true. Okay, and then you got to think, okay, the first thing I want to do is, I'm going to assert equal rv.status code is 200. And then I'm going to do assert in B, and B is important because the data you get back from RV data, this up here, is not in Unicode. It's not UTF-8, so remember that. RV.data, we'll just do that. Okay, you actually just sort of started pretending to be your web browser to get your thing going. And see how it says 404? Okay, so now flip back to the app. Okay, and we're going to make the next one. Let's try it. Def hello2. And we're going to do, let's see, let's do that. Okay, and we're going to call this one hello2. And then we're going to return render template. Render template index.html. Just to get it working. All right, and then run it, and there you go. So I haven't touched the browser at all, and I'm already testing my web app and starting things up and making sure it works and figuring out how to interact with it. So that's very nice. And I suggest when you start working on exercise 52 that you heavily rely on this. Okay, so now you know almost everything you need to know to work on exercise 52. Go ahead and work through this, and I suggest do this one more time with a totally fresh web app, 50 and 51. Get something fresh going that you just have just a random idea, a blog. Blog is like a classic. Or go through the Flask tutorial. Try that out. Make sure you really know this well, because when we get to 52, we're basically going to pull everything together. We're going to pull together your parser that you did, the Gothon game that you did, the lexicon that you did, and this web app, and we're going to make a game that we can work with. Okay, see you at 52.